Managing a cluttered kitchen can be overwhelming, but it doesn't have to be. I've discovered a few simple but powerful strategies that have transformed my cooking space. One of the most effective changes I made was creating designated areas for specific tasks, like organizing my pantry, setting up a baking station, and dedicating space for leftovers. These small adjustments made a huge difference in reducing kitchen chaos, saving time, and making cleanup a breeze. I set up a small reheat station in the kitchen for leftovers, which makes warming up meals much faster and more efficient. This way, I'm able to keep my fridge organized and prevent food waste. In today's video, I'm sharing all the tips and tricks I've learned to organize your kitchen and make it a space that works for you. These practical ideas will make your cooking and cleaning routines easier, faster, and much less stressful. Now let's start with pantry organization tips. It's about creating a space where you can easily find what you need without wasting time rummaging through piles of bags and jars. When I first started organizing my pantry, I realized that the key was to separate items into clear categories like spices, canned goods, frozen foods, and dry goods. This not only makes everything easier to find, but also prevents unnecessary clutter from building up over time. I use clear plastic bins and zipper bags to store items, which helps keep everything fresh and visible. Labeling everything is another crucial step. For example, I use simple, easy-to-read labels on my spice jars and bags of rice or pasta. This makes it so much easier to grab what I need without having to sift through multiple containers. As a personal touch, I prefer glass jars for my spices because they look cleaner and I can easily see the contents. This simple step has saved me a lot of frustration when I'm cooking. Another tip I follow is to store frequently used items at the top or at the front of the pantry so I don't have to reach for them. Things that I don't use often go at the bottom or towards the back. For example, I keep my salt, pepper, and sugar right in front because I use them almost every day. Everything else, like baking ingredients or canned goods, goes behind them. This system helps me keep my pantry neat, saves time when I'm preparing meals, and even reduces the mental load of trying to figure out where everything is. With a well-organized pantry, cooking becomes more enjoyable and less stressful. Plus, it's so satisfying knowing that I'm using my kitchen space in the best way possible. It doesn't take much effort to maintain, and the time saved is totally worth it. Organizing your pantry might seem like a small task, but it really does make a big difference in the long run. Now that we've tackled how to organize your pantry for efficiency, let's move on to the next essential area, the baking section. Next, we'll move on to organizing baking supplies. Baking is one of my favorite things to do in the kitchen, but it can quickly become chaotic without the right organization. To keep things running smoothly, I've learned that having a designated space for all my baking ingredients and tools is essential. I started by setting up a separate section in my pantry just for baking supplies, which makes a huge difference. All my flour, sugar, baking soda, and yeast now have a home, so I don't have to hunt for them every time I want to bake something. One of the first things I did was invest in clear plastic containers and glass jars for ingredients like chocolate chips, nuts, and dried fruit. These containers not only keep everything fresh, but also make it easy to see exactly what I have on hand. I also like to label everything clearly so there's no confusion about which container holds what. This is especially helpful when I'm in a rush and need to grab ingredients quickly. I also organized my baking tools into categories. I keep all my pans, cake molds, and rolling pins in one drawer for easy access. It's also important to have a dedicated space for mixing bowls, measuring cups, and the electric mixer, so I'm not scrambling to find them while I'm in the middle of a recipe. I've even set up a little cooling station on the counter where I place baked goods to cool before storing or serving them. By dividing my baking area into distinct sections, I've made the entire process smoother. Now everything has its place, and the mess doesn't build up as I go. It feels so much easier to get in and out of the kitchen quickly, and cleaning up after baking is no longer as overwhelming. I can enjoy the process and focus on the joy of creating something delicious instead of worrying about the mess. If you're ready to simplify your life even more, don't miss tomorrow's video where I'll be sharing tips on how to let go of things you no longer need even if they're perfectly good. With your baking space in place, it's time to think about how to store your everyday food in the most effective way. Next up is food storage tips. I used to struggle with finding ingredients in my pantry, and I would end up buying duplicates of things I already had, which led to waste and clutter. That's when I decided to invest in some clear plastic bins and woven baskets. I started by organizing my food into small categories like ready-made meals, vegetables, fruits, and canned goods. I found that separating them this way made everything so much easier to find. For example, I use a small basket to store all my pre-cooked meals and leftovers, so they're easy to grab when I'm in a hurry. Vegetables and fruits go in breathable fabric bags, which keep them fresh longer and prevent them from getting mushy. I chose to use clear bins because I love being able to see exactly what's inside without having to open everything up. This has saved me so much time, especially when I'm cooking dinner after a long day. Another tip I follow is to label everything. I use simple labels on each bin or basket so I can tell at a glance where everything is. This also helps my family know where to put things back after they use them. Additionally, I make sure to follow the first in, first out rule. This means that older items get used up before newer ones, which helps prevent food from going to waste. If I open a new can of beans, for example, I'll place it behind the older one so that the older can is used first. This organizational system has made cooking and grocery shopping much more efficient. Now I don't waste time searching for ingredients, and my kitchen feels much less cluttered. It's amazing how a little organization can make such a big difference in everyday life. Now that your food storage is streamlined, let's take a closer look at how you can maximize your kitchen space with open shelves and hanging racks. Now let's talk about open shelves and hanging racks. The idea is to make everything easily accessible and reduce the clutter that can build up when things are hidden away in cupboards or drawers. Now, instead of digging around in a drawer to find my wooden spoon or my favorite frying pan, I can grab them in seconds. I started by using open shelves to display and store my most used cooking tools, things like wooden spoons, spatulas, whisks, and my most used knives. These open shelves make it so much easier to grab exactly what I need without having to search through drawers. I also love how it makes the kitchen feel more open and less crowded. It's like everything has a purpose and the space feels much lighter. The best part: no more cluttered drawers. Everything is visible, so I'm less likely to forget about something or let it get buried. For my pots and pans, I installed wall-mounted racks. This was a game changer. Not only does it free up cabinet space, but it also makes reaching for a pot so much easier when I'm in the middle of cooking. Now I can hang my pans right above the stove so they're always within arm's reach. It also helps me stay organized when I'm done cooking. I can just hang them back up right where they belong. One tip I found especially helpful is using adjustable racks. This way, as I get new kitchen tools or switch up my cooking routine, I can easily move things around. For instance, when I started baking more, I moved my rolling pin and mixing bowls onto a shelf right above the counter where I do most of my baking. Making these small changes has saved me so much time and energy in the kitchen. Cooking feels less stressful when everything is in its place and easy to grab. Plus, cleaning up is so much easier now that my kitchen tools are organized and easy to put away. Having everything easily accessible is great, but what about ensuring your food stays fresh and you use it before it expires? Let's move on to the FIFO method. Now let's explore the FIFO method. This simple method has helped me reduce food waste, save money, and make my fridge a lot more efficient. I used to shove whatever I bought into the fridge without thinking about where it went, and that led to expired items hiding in the back of the fridge, which I often didn't realize until it was too late. Now I always make sure to place new groceries at the back of the fridge and move the older items to the front. This way, I'm more likely to use up what I already have before the new stuff, which reduces waste. For instance, when I buy new vegetables or dairy, I make sure they go behind the ones that are already there. It sounds simple, but it works wonders. I've noticed I'm more intentional about using up what I've had for a while and not letting things go bad. Checking the expiration dates regularly is also crucial. I make it a habit to go through my fridge every week, tossing anything that's expired and cleaning up any spills. Keeping the fridge organized in this way makes it much easier to see what I have, and I no longer have to dig through layers of food to find what I need. I've also started buying only what I really need for the week, which prevents over-purchasing and overcrowding the fridge. This keeps the space organized and avoids the clutter that comes with having too many items. It's amazing how this small habit has made my kitchen feel so much more manageable. The FIFO method might seem like a small thing, but it has made a big difference in how I manage food and keep my kitchen running smoothly. Now that your fridge is organized with the FIFO method, let's focus on your kitchen layout. Setting up specialized zones for different tasks in the kitchen. Next, we'll discuss specialized zones. I realized that having everything in one big jumble was making cooking more stressful and time-consuming. So I decided to create separate zones in the kitchen for different activities, one for food prep, one for baking, and another for actual cooking. For instance, I set up my food prep area with everything I need close by: cutting boards, knives, measuring cups, and bowls. I like to keep this space clear and organized because it helps me stay focused while preparing ingredients. The best part is that I don't have to constantly move things around or search for tools. Everything is right where I need it. Next, I dedicated a space specifically for baking. I keep all my baking tools and ingredients like flour, sugar, measuring spoons, and rolling pins in this area. It's right next to my countertop, so it's super convenient. The baking area stays separate from the rest of the kitchen, which keeps things tidy and prevents flour spills or sticky sugar messes from interfering with my cooking. I even made sure there are shelves nearby to store my baking pans and mixing bowls. Having these separate areas has really improved the flow of my kitchen. I've noticed that I'm much more efficient, and it also makes cleaning up so much easier. I don't have to worry about flour dusting over my stove or knocking over spices while I'm rolling dough. Everything has its place, and the kitchen feels more organized and less overwhelming. If you're someone who loves to cook or bake, I highly recommend creating specialized zones in your kitchen. It's an easy and practical way to make your space work for you, not against you. Let's now focus on daily cleaning. I used to let the mess build up throughout the day, thinking I'd deal with it later. But I quickly realized that this only made things harder. The dishes piled up, the counters got greasy, and before I knew it, the kitchen felt like a disaster zone. Now I make it a point to clean my kitchen right after every meal. It's become part of my routine. I always start by wiping down the counters and cleaning the sink. The moment I finish cooking, I grab a cloth and quickly clean the stovetop to get rid of any grease or food splatters. This prevents buildup and makes it much easier to clean next time. It takes just a few minutes, but it makes such a difference. Another tip that has helped me a lot is washing or putting away the dishes as soon as I'm done with them. I used to leave everything out while I cooked, thinking I'd clean up later. But that only created more work for me. Now I wash my pots, pans, and utensils immediately after use, so they don't sit around and create more mess. If I'm too tired to wash them right away, I make sure to at least rinse them off to prevent food from hardening and sticking. Now let's talk about save money and reduce waste. Essentially, this means that for a month, I commit to not buying any food that isn't absolutely necessary. It may sound strict, but it has helped me save so much money and has made my kitchen much more organized and efficient. The first thing I did was take a good look at my pantry and fridge. I was shocked by how much food I already had: bags of rice, pasta, canned goods, and even some snacks I had completely forgotten about. Instead of buying new ingredients every week, I decided to focus on using up what I already had. I made meals based on what was in my pantry and freezer, and it felt surprisingly satisfying to create delicious dishes with ingredients I had overlooked for so long. Another key to this challenge was setting a specific savings goal. Every month, I try to set a target for how much money I want to save by cutting down on unnecessary purchases. This keeps me focused and motivated to keep up with the challenge. I've also started looking for cheaper alternatives to the more expensive ingredients I used to buy. For example, I swapped out fresh herbs for dried ones or used frozen vegetables instead of fresh to save a little extra. This challenge has not only helped me save money, but it has also reduced food waste. I've become more mindful about what I'm buying and how much of it I'm using. It's also forced me to get creative with what I have on hand, and I'm proud of how much I've been able to make without running to the store every few days. Lastly, we'll discuss dedicated space for leftovers. I used to toss leftovers anywhere, and before I knew it, they'd get mixed up with fresh food, making it hard to find what I needed. But once I created a designated area for leftovers, things started running much smoother. I make sure to store leftovers in airtight containers. This not only keeps them fresh, but also prevents any smells from spreading through the fridge. It's also much easier to track leftovers when they're in clear labeled containers. I use a simple system where I write the date on the container so I know when I made the meal and when it should be eaten by. This way nothing gets forgotten or left to go bad. I've also set up a small reheating station in the kitchen. It's a little area where I keep the microwave and the tools I need to quickly warm up leftovers like plates, napkins, and containers. This makes it super easy to grab a meal on the go, especially on those busy days when I'm short on time. Having a dedicated space for leftovers not only helps keep my fridge organized, but it also saves me time and energy during the week. I no longer waste food or feel overwhelmed by the mess. To wrap things up, organizing your kitchen can be a big change. From setting up specific zones for cooking and baking to creating systems for storing leftovers. Small habits can make a big impact on your daily routine. I know that organizing isn't always easy, but I'm here to walk through it with you. We can all make small changes that will lead to a more efficient, clutter-free kitchen. If you're ready to dive deeper, I've got a video coming up on how to let go of things that are still perfectly usable, even when it feels hard to part with them. You definitely don't want to miss this one. It's packed with practical tips that could really simplify your life. If you found this video helpful, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. You deserve a more organized and enjoyable life, and I'm here to help you achieve it. Share these tips with your friends and family to help them organize their kitchens too.